Welcome to this week's edition of the Belau Report. I'm Jane Belau. Our guest this week is a candidate for the Olmsted County Board of Commissioners, and his name is Loring Stead. Dr. Stead, I believe.
Thank you, yes. Hi.
And would you introduce yourself to our viewers and voters?
Thank you. Hi, team. I'm Dr. Loring Stead. I'm running for County Commissioner, District 1. I've had the opportunity to be in Rochester for the last 40 years. 35 years I was at Olmsted Medical Center. There, each year I had the opportunity to listen to patients, understand what problems they have, and execute on what their plan was. I was born in Harmony, Minnesota, until I was 10, then moved to Emmons, Minnesota, where I got to meet my love of a lifetime, Pam Stead, who I've been married to for 43 years. I went to Luther College in Decorah, Iowa, where I got my degree in chemistry and biology. I matriculated to Rosalind Franklin Medical School, Scholl College of Podiatry in Chicago. Did the 4 years there for my medical education. Did some time at Cook County in Chicago. I then went to the Foot Clinic of Youngstown, Ohio, Cafaro Hospital, associated with Youngstown Osteopathic. After that point, I was recruited to come back to Minnesota. There was a lot of need for rural health care that wasn't being delivered. So I came back and based out of Rochester and had offices in Albert Lea, Austin, Cresco, Decorah, and Red Wing, and worked in the migrant camps. So at that point, it was delivering services. I had 19 employees. I had 2 physicians working for me. I know how to do a payroll. I know the challenges for a small business person. From that point, then Olmsted recruited me, and in mid-80s, I became the first podiatric foot and ankle surgeon at Olmsted Medical Center and served 35 years there. And during that time, they promoted the idea. I think it was the first Rochester Leadership 2000 group, now called Greater Rochester. They encouraged me. They knew I had a real interest in social service issues. They encouraged me to do that program. So I did that 9-month program, at which time after that, you're encouraged to go out in the community and serve, which I did. 13 years I was at Hiawatha Children's Home, which is physical and mental challenged adults and kids that needed help. I was there twice as president. I then went to affordable housing emphasis at Rochester Foundation, worked with them 2 terms. I was at IMAA, Inter-Mutual Cultural Association and Assistance Program for Refugees and Immigration. So from that, a lot of people in the community knew I was dedicated to the community, and they thought it would be a great idea to maybe make the next step, and that would be to run for political office. So that's what I've done. I am remiss not to mention that I have 3 adult kids, great kids, 1 down south, 1 out west, and 1 here locally, and then my beautiful wife Pam that I've been married to for 43 years, so I'm blessed. Rochester has been part of our family for the last 100 years with my mom's side, and I'm looking forward to making Rochester a great spot for the next 100 years.
Okay. The second question was going to be, and what inspired you to run for office?
Yeah.
But I know you alluded to it, but you didn't say.
Yes. Our family, like many families, have always felt a need, an obligation. Of those given much, much is to be expected. And our family really carried that. My family, somebody was always on the township boards down in Harmony or Emmons. They were just service above self folks. And aren't we all here to lead by example, make it happen, and service above self? And I really feel now, being retired, I have the time, I have the energy, and this is what I want to do. And I'm ready. I have the experience. A vote for Stead will be a vote for experience. I'm ready to serve.
When you look at the Olmsted County Board of Commissioners and the power it has, what, in your view, is the biggest challenge facing the people of Olmsted County?
There would be three big things, and the biggest one right now is public safety, without a doubt. Public safety, when I'm out in the neighborhoods, that's what it's all about. So we're really going to need to do everything to support Sheriff Torgerson and his team. Ways to be doing that would be additional training. As a physician, I would train once a month to continue my skills. I think we need to do everything to give them whatever Torgerson's team feels they need for equipment, and then training. I don't think you could train twice a year to do what they do. Think of their life's on the line. The people they're working with, their life's on the line. You at least need to be out 4 times a year, maybe every other month at least. So training is big. And then, so public safety is number one, without a doubt. Followed closely by fiscal responsibility.
Okay, before we leave public training, one of the things the sheriff and our police chief will tell you is what they need are candidates for applying for the very best people that they have. And they tell about how they were themselves part of several hundred candidates for office, and now I see the military is 40% smaller than it was before. And part of that is the defund the police effort. And you don't subscribe to that because we have very good people.
Defund the police would definitely not be anything on my watch at all. I'm an advocate of additional funding for services, additional funding for training. We need to do everything to make people safe. Directly to your question, recruiting is a big thing. Rochester is a great place. Think of this, of all the countries in the world, there's 198 and we get to be in America. Of all the states in the Union, we get to be in Minnesota. And of all the cities in the state, we get to be in Rochester. Rochester is a great spot. I think that can be packaged and sold to get appropriate recruits. I think that is doable.
Good. All right, and fiscal responsibility, that sounds like taxes and other kinds of income.
It's all about collaboration. Olmsted County can't do it alone. The services I listed where I was at Hiawatha Children's Home, Rochester Foundation, IMAA, are out doing services kind of like Olmsted County. Olmsted County isn't here to save the country, the state. Our fiscal responsibility is for the taxpayer. So we need to work with collaboratively with those in the community, those nonprofits, of which there's dozens. We can work with them and continue to do everything to work with the county. There's 1,300 people who work for the county. This is pretty interesting. At Olmsted Medical Center, I had the opportunity to be on the Board of Governors and Board of Trustees. We oversaw a revenue budget very similar to the county, about 200 to 300 million. We had 1,300 employees. We had about 30 departments, very similar to the county. I'm comfortable in this arena, and I would do everything to support the people that we have, because Olmsted County is services done right. We're doing a lot of good things. We're going to try to continue that, working cooperatively with others that are doing the same thing. We can't do it alone. It takes a community, it takes a village, and that's, I think, what it's all about.
All right. When you say fiscal accountability, do you mean to taxpayers?
Absolutely. And
the public?
Taxpaying public, yes. Fiscal responsibility, that's the ones pay the bills. At Sister Genevieve, no money, no mission. You have to have the appropriate funding to do the appropriate mission. And we have a big mission out there, and we want to deliver services that are very, very needed. My Aunt Addie was in Park Towers, which was one of the first safety net opportunities for housing in Rochester. Been in there dozens of times, very familiar with it. My mom and dad for a while had to be assisted with central towers, and then they didn't need a handout, they needed a help out, and the help out was then to kind of get them to Shorewood. Pam's family, for a while, her mom had 5 kids, the dad left, and that's the responsibility not only of them, but of the community to help them for a while to give them assistance to the next route. And all those have been success stories. So fiscal responsibility is giving value, trust, and transparency to the taxpayer. We can't make promises we can't keep. We have to we need to deliver services that we can pay for. You can't say you're going to do something and then count on the state or the national government to do it for you. We're probably going to have to be counting more and more on ourselves to do it. And that will take a lot of fair evaluations, property assessments. It's a big job, and I'm willing to take that task on. I have a lot of responsibility or a lot of experience in that way, having been a taxpayer in several different communities and knowing it's tough for the small business to make it. But once again, no money, no mission. You need to have them to survive to keep these missions of health and human services, homeless shelters, all those things going. So it's an intricate, delicate balance between all those. And I think I am in a position to supply that experience. It's a big deal. The budget's going to be $300 million next year. $300 million. That's a big deal. You want people there with experience to have been in situations like that. We don't do everything right. We don't do everything wrong, but we really sweat and think about every decision and keep the taxpayer and the public in mind. This is a big deal. And our family's been here 100 years, and I really want to make it a special spot for the next 100.
You mentioned 3 challenges.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2.
Yeah. Third would be the bucket of health and human services. Well, in fact, the third would be the safety net. The safety net means health and human services. It means affordable housing. It means the homeless shelter. It means all those things to help keep people safe, to keep them on track, to make them aware of what services are available, which are plentiful, to then get them on a track. They don't really need many, having been with our family, they have always said, we don't need a handout, we need a help out. Help us a little bit, move forward and do the best we can do. And for many people, that's the way to go. So public safety, fiscal responsibility, and the public safety net is what I'm all about.
Okay. The Zoning and Planning Commission is facing the Unified Building Code. And that's going to be really dramatic change for the community and the developers. What do you think about that?
I believe the exact name is Unified Development Code versus Planning Code, and I could be wrong, but I think it's Development Code. And what developers want, I've been in commercial real estate with my wife since retirement because I'm an active, busy guy, and there's a lot of things I can do and want to do. But what they want is clarity. They want some certainty. And I think the Unified Development Plan is going to give them some clarity. Think if you're an investor and you want to come to the community. You don't want unknowns. You want to be able to look at a document and see where you're at, where you can do to plan. So I think it'll be a great asset for the city, for the county, and the area to move forward.
Even all 1,000 pages?
People who come into the community, I got to know personally Bob Lex, who put together with the Pompane family here in Rochester, the Berkman. They have people to look at those thousands of pages. They have to do that. That's their job, but they want to see it. Those communities that don't have a good development plan will be looked over. This is a positive thing for Rochester. This will be a good thing, I believe.
Good.
Yes.
All right. As far as human services go, you think there are enough human services, or what are we needing?
The needs will always exceed the ability to pay. That's just, it's biblical. There's always going to be needy out there, and that's the way it's going to be. Our job as the county, again, is to do the best we can to be transparent and do everything for the county. Once again, we aren't here to save the state. We're here to do the best for the county. So the needs are many, and we have to do all we can with the warming services, with the WIC program. I've been the last 6 months going on to the county commissioner meetings and then trying to break out with the different committees if I can. And the WIC program is huge for increased breastfeeding. There's so many needs out there. The goal is to prioritize and put those in fiscal responsibility order, because we can't do it all. We can do it all as best we can with the community and the nonprofits around us and work with them, but we do the best we can. But we can't make promises we can't keep. We can't count on the state to backfill our needs, because they might not. Look what just happened. They're still sitting on what, $10 million? Or even more than that. I don't know. Maybe it's a lot of money. And they didn't spend it and help us. For example, we did get our interchange. There's things Rochester needs right now that we didn't get from the state. You can't count on that money till it's here. You can't count, in real estate, you can't count on the commission until the check has gone through. Many things will happen, and many things happen at a state level. I do want to include, too, on my resume, I have been on numerous Rochester days at the Capitol. I was the state president for the Minnesota Podiatric Medical Association, and so I advocated for many veteran and student loan issues at the state many times. I'm comfortable at the state level, and even more so than that, I'm very comfortable at the national level. I've been to 30 years. I was an advocate for our group to promote veteran affair issues, student loans. I literally have been with Tom Daschle out in Congress. I've been with Thune. I am familiar with the way Washington works, and I really think as Rochester moves forward, we're going to need help at the state level. I know how to ask. At the national level, I know how to ask, but also be realistic enough to know you're not always get what you're going to ask for. But we can't overcommit to services we haven't paid for. So prioritizing money and budgetary needs will be of utmost concern.
I noticed that the Maywood Homes was
Yes.
one of those that was declined funds so far.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. You can't always depend on the state or the feds to fund your projects. So,
with all the things I've done, you have to learn to be patient and have the understanding it's not over till it's over. So all those projects like Maywood 1, Maywood 2, got a lot of experience with Rochester Foundation, and even when I was on the Slattery Park Board, things take time. So with all your best intention, you have to be persistent, consistent, and willing to continue to put a best face and a best foot forward to get things done.
what was your most proud achievement on the Slattery Park Board?
Oh, Slattery Park there. I was with Wayne Flock at the time. And there was many things. Just, I was a little minute person on the board, but they brought on, during that time, brought on the concept of art in the neighborhood. That was huge. We tried to make the neighborhood a safer place by, I think, the porch night out type of concept. So that was a long time ago, and that it was a wonderful experience in the neighborhood. And I spent my life in Slattery Park. Olmsted Medical Center was the one on one end of the park, Slattery Park. Olmsted Hospital's on the other. I drove that at least twice a day, every day. My great-grandpa, John Kruger, built one of the first homes in Slattery Park, and it's still there. I believe it's at, 10th Avenue off of 4th Street, go down to the creek, and it's just there on the west side. And it's incredible. So this place means everything to me. Rochester is where I raised my kids. They all went to the public schools. It's where I'll probably raise my grandkids. This means everything to me, and I will do everything to make it safe, to make it fiscally responsible, and to continue to provide a safety net for those who need it. Any of us could need it. Always give grace. When you see the guy down in the corner today, or gal, and they're asking for money or food, you ask yourself, golly, I wonder what happened to them. You know who else is asking that? They are. What happened to me? Give them some grace, because that could be any of us. We all need to help each other as much as we can. We're into this. This is a community. This is a community. This is a big thing, and I'm proud to be part of it.
Is there something the county should be doing that it is not doing? No.
I think the county is doing a lot of things well. I think any of us can be reflective on ourselves individually as a family and try to take insights and get improvement. So I think with any of us, continue to offer transparency and to be willingness to communicate is awesome. And I think Team Heidi down at the administrative office and a lot of them, Travis, are doing a fabulous job. So can we do better? Absolutely. We all can do better. So I think they're doing a lot of things right, and I'm really going to try to do everything to make Olmsted County services done right.
How about roads and bridges?
Huge thing. That is, when you talk about priorities, it's really tough because it's tough to lay out everything. There's such a vast array of things that the county does, and roads and bridges is really, when you think about it, public safety. Look what just happened west of here. They had a bridge collapse. So we have over 520 miles of roads in the county. We have 200 and some bridges. We need to prioritize those as they need maintenance. And that is tough to do. This is a tough job. This is a brutal, tough, full-time job. I don't, in the past, I don't even know how it's been done in the past. I will do everything possible. I have a lot of energy, a lot of experience, and I would do all possible to prioritize things, make it right. But roads and bridges is a big thing. And then what does that do too? How does that tie into public safety too? Roads and bridges allow your sheriff's department to get where they need to be when they need to be there. In the city, I think our response time is maybe 4 minutes. In the county, it's 2 or 3 times that. Why? We have 18 townships, 8 cities, 655 square miles of coverage. That's brutal. If a bridge is out, that's no good. So you bring up a very important point. Bridges, infrastructure is also key. So there's a lot of keys here, key issues that really intertwine and play together, and that's why experience is going to be so vital.
Okay. Let's see, human services, we covered that. And we covered your fiscal accountability. And do you expect tax increases in the next year?
I think the county did a very appropriate and reasonable thing during COVID, where the tax increase was 0, if I'm not mistaken. I know that was. And I think as we move forward, it's only going to be understandable that there will be some tax increases. But I do think we have to be careful, reasonable, and appropriate and responsible when we do that, and consider all involved. So the beauty of Doc Stead, I'm in the community every day, all day. This is where I live. I go, my faith community is here, my work community is here. I'm out in meetings right now, 8 to 10 times a week, just interacting with the community. Men, women, youth, old, older, everybody. So what does that mean? I'm listening. You'll have full access, and my ear will be listening, just like at Olmsted, where I had to listen to 225,000 patients. I will be listening to your concerns, and that will be of key importance, I think.
Okay. We have 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
So if you have anything special that you would like to talk about before you give your closing statement, what would it be?
Probably my kids and family, but I won't do that. We could talk about hours for that. That said, I think it's going to be the power of collaboration, networking, and working together. And I'm going to give you an example of that. When my youngest daughter was maybe 2 years old, my wife and Elle were out at this little sandbox. We lived kind of rurally here in Rochester. We had small acreage and not many homes around us. We were out between Tutlands and Adamsons, and they were just doing West Circle Drive at the time. Pam ran back to the house, which was 15 yards away, left this little gated sandbox area, left Elle and the dog in the sandbox. Went to get some paint, came back, Elle's gone. Where did Elle go? She looked all over the house. There was another friend there. She was not to be found. Within moments, the safety net of Rochester was instituted. It was unbelievable. Where I'm going with this is we can't do things alone. The county can't do things alone. We got to collaborate nationally, state, and locally. And we had to collaborate that day with other family and community members. It really takes a village to, really takes a village to make community happen. And that day, we had probably 8 police officers looking for Elle. The community members were out looking for Elle. They called me at work and said, all I heard from Pam was emergency, Elle, phone clicked. I was ready to go into surgery. I had to tell my staff and the patient, I apologize. Something's going on in my family. Is it okay to go? The patient said, absolutely yes. She gave me grace. My staff, several of them left work. They gave me grace. I get out into the community at home, and there's already friends and family and neighbors and the city police and the county police helping to find this little girl, because this was a serious deal. Super hot day. Community was making this happen. So the end of this story is one of the police officers was coming out with you really get excited and understand when they say, go get a piece of clothing that your child last had on, we're bringing out the dogs. Oh my gosh, think of the West Circle Drive at this time. They had these big water pits down there. It was scary. It was brutal. So this officer was coming around, Kazak, I think, wasn't it? I think it was Officer Kazak, who was with the dog patrol. So he comes out, he's a friend of ours, and he's going, oh my God, I'm going out to the Steads. And he gets around, and he didn't realize how closed West Circle Drive was at the time. Every day it changed. So he gets there, he turns around in Hal Henderson's property, which is at the corner of 8th, County Road 8 and West Circle, or not West Circle Drive, Salem Road. So Kazak goes, oh, I didn't realize it's closed. He pulls in there, Ellison pops out of the woods there. And he opens the door and he goes, I think you're the little girl I'm looking for. She gets in the back of the cop car. He drives up. There's a take-home on all this. And they go, everyone's crying, everyone's hugging each other. We have Elle. And she goes, I want my juice. I want my juice. It was a time for celebration. So take time once in a while to celebrate. And the take-homes were, we couldn't do that alone. We had to count on community and others to help us out. It literally, I think I had a little article in the paper the next day thanking the police department, others that gave help. You can't do it alone. The county can't do it alone. We have to have a cooperative network with others within the community and around us, even at the state and national level. I'm used to that type of situation, and I've lived that type of situation. Without the community coming to help us that day, we might not have help, because where's the next step for that? That major intersection right there. Yeah. It could have been brutal. So to the police officers and sheriff's department and family and community collaborating together, just like we have to do with the county did, that's what counts. So that's my take home today. We're not here alone. It's all of us to lead by example, all of us. You, me, to make it happen, and service is above self. And I think Olmsted County has done well, and I think we can move forward and continue to improve on that.
The county has so many things that it's responsible for, including parks and more of a role in planning than the city. and the role of safety is a bigger one. What would you like to say to the viewers and voters as your closing statement?
I think it's, if anybody goes to my Facebook, my daughter was at a school down south that was one of the first to come off of MySpace and went to Facebook. So I was an early social network guy. And you'll see me, I always talk about faith, family, friends, football, and God bless the USA. And there's a whole step beyond that. And that's for each of us to learn to lead by example, make it happen, service above self, helping others, giving grace. And who's watching? Your family's watching, your loved ones are watching, your future or your family and community's watching. Choose to do the right thing. So that's my take home.
All right, thank you.
I do need to give Jane a shout out. 1974, this program started. It's run 2 years longer than CNN. I am so blessed, and thank you for giving me the time and the time for the community to have an expansion of what's going on. Usually a politician gets, not a politician, whatever I am, an advocate for the community gets a 30-second spot. Thank you for allowing this time for me to discuss this with you. I appreciate it. Heartfelt thanks from the Olmsted County, from Rochester community, and from America for being the longest running political talk show in the country. Godspeed.
Thank you very much. Dr. Loring Stead, candidate for Olmsted County Commissioner District 1. And thank you, our viewers, for your interest in potential government and the county, city, state, nation, and the world. And we'll be back next week, same time, same channel. Have a very good week and a very good night.